In some categories of the market, I would go so far as to say that telcos have an existential crisis. Like how will they survive if this aspect of their business is fundamentally disrupted, where they are not even competitive anymore?
Welcome to TBR Talks, decoding strategies and ecosystems of the globe's top tech firms, where we talk business model disruption in the broad technology ecosystem, from BCG to Wipro, AWS to SAP, and Intel to NVIDIA. We'll be answering some of the key intelligence questions we've heard from executives and business unit leaders among the leading IT and telecom vendors and services firms. I'm Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst, and today we'll go from AT&T to Verizon with Chris Antlitz, Principal Analyst for TBR's Telecom practice. So Chris, when we look at the macroeconomic picture, so inflation, the cost of capital, just everything that's pressuring CFOs right now, what do you think that's going to mean for the vendors that you cover in the telecom space?
So it's early days, but we're starting to see behavioral changes especially among the operators. And that manifests itself in different ways. So one thing we've seen is inflation. This is actually a good thing for telcos that's going on. They've struggled with pricing power for many years now, and after the market's matured. But now what we're starting to see is more and more operators increasing the prices of their existing services.
Okay.
So this is a change. This is a trend now that we're seeing. Actually, this morning we saw two of the tier one operators in the U.S. increase the prices on their fixed wireless access offerings. And then we saw another one raise prices on their mobile broadband subscription. So basically people are paying more for the same thing. That's a change for telco. So far, what we've seen from other recent price increases is they've predominantly stuck. We haven't seen a big increase in churn,
Right.
Which is a fear in the industry. People that churn out is expensive, right, for the operators. So that's a response to inflation. The telcos have been dealing with the inflation for almost 2 years now, and they finally reached the point where they need to start, proactively pushing through price increases and hoping that
let me just ask you, the strategy before was just sort of, was it waited out, or was it just allow inflation to eat at the margins, or what were they doing up until this point?
And they continue to manage it, but they've been automating. They've laid off tens of thousands of people in the U.S. alone among the big telcos over the last decade, at least tens of thousands. So you have the automation in there. Now AI is the big buzzword. Right. Everybody's looking at efficiency gains from that, productivity enhancement. So they've been managing it. They've outsourced a lot of things. They've done sale leasebacks of the towers. They've found ways to mitigate the impact of cost increase on their business. They've also pushed through payment terms. So they actually have pushed many of their suppliers to accept longer payment terms, I've seen up to 120 days for a vendor to get paid that supplies the telcos.
Is that a short-term tactic to buy some financial flexibility that long-term it reverts back to sort of standard payment terms, or do you think those are going to stick?
They have not reverted.
They won't revert. Okay.
Once those lines get crossed, they tend to stick around.
Yeah.
And it's because especially the tier one telcos, they can get away with that because they have so much scale and influence in the industry that the vendors that supply them are like, they have to agree to it. And it's worked okay. There's been issues here and there, but generally speaking, it's been okay. But, that helps the telcos manage their working capital better.
Yeah.
And manage their debt obligations better. And, and these are things that have been going on for years. But the big change is now we're at a point where prices are being increased and seeing if that actually sticks.
Right.
The trend previously was deflation in the telecom industry, where you're getting more and more and more, and your price is either stable or coming down.
Right. Kind of like, I think about like TVs, like, the price of a TV is dramatically different than it was if you think about what you were getting for what you were paying for. So, but now we're starting to see that creep back up. So, I mean, eventually it's exactly what you're saying, that it catches up with it. We were talking earlier, 5G. So that was the the promise 5G and edge, and that hasn't happened. So why are we not seeing the 5G future that we were promised 5 years ago?
So I firmly believe that ultimately there will be trillions of dollars in global economic value created from these new technologies, 5G, edge computing, AI, quantum computing, all of those, trillions.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. But the problem is that the magnitude of complexity is growing at a level where there's skill shortages, there's chip shortages, there's geopolitical encumbrances, there's all kinds of impediments or just things that need to be worked through to attain that end state. And where the industry is making progress in various ways, but it is taking a very long time.
So typically the story in technology is that what starts off as that huge promise of trillions of dollars, the companies that are on the beginning of that are the ones that don't make the trillions. It's the companies that are second or third or fourth or fifth to the market. So when you think about the companies that you are covering, I mean, if you had to place your bets now, or if you just had to think about who's got the better strategy or who's better positioned now, who's going to benefit when the market finally begins to catch that momentum that you think is there?
Yeah. Hyperscalers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain types of software companies, and that's what it's about. It's about the software, and that's where the value is going to be created. Like think about AR, VR. Like you have a headset, that's great, but you need compelling content to really sell it, right?
Yeah.
Look at the iPhone. The iPhone was great for what it was, but without the App Store, would it have actually taken off the way it did?
Right.
So you need those types of companies that enable those experiences, but also, the infrastructure that enables those things needs to be built in a way where those types of use cases can be supported at scale at different economics than the infrastructure has traditionally been developed in. So these are fundamental changes. And those are the companies that lean into those paradigm shifts are going to be the ones that are going to most likely do well.
So in talking to you about this for the last couple of years, but really in the last year, one thing that stands out to me is that across TBR, I think the hyperscalers, everybody has to know what they're doing because they have such an impact on everybody else. So obviously the cloud software practice, but the IT services and professional services practice, infrastructure practice, even devices, and certainly you guys in telecoms. But it seems like from the IT services and professional services perspective, the hyperscalers are really good partners, essential partners. I get a sense from you that the hyperscalers are often a threat to the telecoms in a way that they're not a threat to everybody else. So is that true, and does that change? Or is that true and it's not going to change? That's going to be the way the market is for the telecoms going forward.
So the hyperscalers are frenemies of the telcos. That is not going to change.
Yeah.
However, we're going to see the competitive aspect get much more pronounced, and it's going to become much broader over time. And we already see glimpses of this.
Yeah.
The hyperscalers predominantly own the satellite platforms, the satellite connectivity platforms. You have, SpaceX has Starlink, which is owned by Elon Musk essentially in his empire, which is essentially, you could think of Tesla as, and the conglomeration of companies as a hyperscaler type entity.
Yeah, no doubt.
You have Project Kuiper, which is Amazon owned and operated. You have, Google's working on its own. You have Apple with Globalstar, what they're doing there. So you can see this is coming, they're rethinking networks, how the infrastructure that's going to be needed to enable those types of use cases to make those trillions of dollars in value become a reality.
Yeah, so the frenemy equation, the frenemy thing is always a balance between how much you friends and how much you enemies. But I think my sense is within telecoms, it's a little more antagonistic and it's a little more of a threat to the telecoms that they could be replaced or they could be pushed out of the market by the hyperscalers.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
In some categories of the market, I would go so far as to say that telcos have an existential crisis Like how will they survive if this aspect of their business is fundamentally disrupted, where they are not even competitive anymore? Like we could see shifts like that in the next 10, 15 years. I think we will see some things like that, not from a overall standpoint, but from certain aspects, certain areas of the business, like maybe IoT, certain, maybe private networks. We're going to see a dramatic change in how that market actually develops, to the detriment of the telcos. So those are the types of areas where we might see big changes.
And is that a long, slow bleed, or is that a sudden seismic shift?
I think it's more of a accelerated shift. Nothing happens particularly fast, I would say. It's over a period of time, but the pace of change is definitely speeding up. It's accelerating.
Yeah. Okay. 2 more questions before we wrap up. And so one is going to be, I know you're going to Mobile World Congress again. And so sort of expectations about that. And then is there a sort of question within the telco space that's sort of always in the back of your mind that you're like, if only I could find an answer to this? I mean, and I think of them as key intelligence questions, those questions that are fundamental to how we understand the businesses that we're looking at, but almost unanswerable. We're constantly trying to figure out what is that key intelligence question that unlocks our better understanding of the business model of the companies we cover.
Sure.
So I don't know which one you want to tackle first.
Yeah, I'll start with MWC. So we already know they put out the topics ahead of time that they're going to be the themes of the event. AI is probably number one.
Yep.
Cloud, anything related to cloud will be up there. Private networks is going to be talked about quite a bit, as it was last year.
Right.
Sustainability will be talked about. Those types of things we're going to hear quite a bit of. 5G advanced.
Yep. And it's in Barcelona every year, right? That doesn't change.
Barcelona is the main event, and they also have one in the U.S. They have one in China. I think they have one in Africa as well. Okay. But those are more regional-oriented events. The one in Barcelona is the global event, the big one.
Okay. All right. And then that key intelligence question about the telecom space you've never been able to answer in your decade at TBR?
So the big question is, how are they going to change? How are they really going to change? Because in the 16 years I've been studying this market, I hear the same question. That question hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
So 5G was supposed to be the savior of the industry, and so far it's looking a lot like the LTE cycle. So that's the big challenge. But I want to take it a step back and look more broadly. There is a real labor problem in the technology industry. Like, there's not enough people that know how to do fundamental roles that are needed for digitally transformed companies. There's not enough coders. There's not enough people that know enough coding languages. Maybe they know one coding language, but they don't know a few that they need to work together to do integrations and things. There's not enough people that understand algorithms and how they work, how they're developed. There's not enough people that know network protocols for 3GPP standards. Yeah. These are big problems, and there's no real solution.
That's frightening, because understanding algorithms and ensuring connectivity, I mean, we all expect all of that. We expect that the technology is going to work. And you're sort of saying, look, the technology works now, but there's not enough people to make sure that it's going to keep working. And that's scary.
Yeah, keep working and also evolve the existing companies. Right. There's not enough people. Right. This is actually part of the reason why the hyperscalers are so important in the friends aspect with the hyperscalers, because the hyperscalers with their partners, like the IT services companies, can actually help.
They have the talent.
They have the talent that does exist. They can actually help the telcos to make these things a reality. Yeah. So, yeah.
So the good story is Gen AI and robots are not going to take over the world, because we still need people.
At least not anytime soon.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you, Chris, very much. A lot of fun.
Thanks.
Next month, I'll be speaking with Chris Antlitz again, talking about the key intelligence questions we'll be getting over this coming month. Next week, I'll be speaking with Principal Analyst Boz Christoph. Don't forget to send us your key intelligence questions on business strategy, ecosystems, and management through the form in the show notes below. Visit tbri.com to learn how we help tech companies large and small answer these questions with the research, data, and analysis my guests bring to this conversation every week. Once again, I'm your host, Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst at TBR. Thanks for joining us, and see you next week.